So welcome to Dynamic Foundry Group. Today we are going to have 115th webinar from Dynamic Foundry Group. We have started this journey of webinars and online activities after the lockdown. That is 31st of March 2020. We have taken our first webinar, and within a span of 1 year, we have completed almost 114 webinars. So this is another topic which everybody is looking forward from long time. That is the high pressure molding line versus conventional jolt squeeze machine. The what is the difference? What are the pros and cons? What how we can select, when we can select high pressure line, when we can select alpha, we can say jolt squeeze or conventional line. All these questions are in our mind. So to answer them and to guide us, we are have with us Mr. Manish Kotari from Rhino Machines, Anand, Baroda, Gujarat. So welcome, Manish. He has been a very active
Thank
participant
you.
and member of DFG Group. He has been always with us in all the, you can say, all the happy and sad journey from of DFG, right from I think 2015, and he has been already conducted one webinar on sand reclamation, and we are going to have one more webinar after this one on compactability automation as well. So welcome, Manish, and hope this webinar will be as interactive as we are expecting. So I hand over the platform to
Thank you. Thank you, Sandeep ji and Dynamic Foundry Group. So it is always namaskar to everybody, of course, on a Sunday evening कि आप लोग सब have joined for this session. I just share my screen and just to. So जैसा संदीप जी ने कहा, I think हिंदी and English दोनों mix रहेगा तो it is
Yes,
more
yes,
convenient.
that's fine. That's fine. That's all right.
So jolt squeeze molding or high pressure molding, these are two subjects जो probably from the start of my career and goes back to almost 1986 when I first saw the jolt squeeze molding machines in Hindustan Gas Alone. I still remember that noise. The jolt squeeze machine is a machine where अगर आप अपने फैक्ट्री में बैठे हो ऑफिस में, still you will know that the plant, you will know when the machine plant is working, when the plant is not working. So that is one of the longest old memory which I have about jolt squeeze molding. And high pressure machine I was introduced to in 1994. Of course, I've been listening to my father because he had been marketing Kunkel Wagner machines for several years when he was in Paddy Equipment. Having met the key sales people, technical people during our school times, and I've been hearing about high pressure molding machine for quite some time. So in '94, when I just begun my career, I started with representing SWS and Haflinger before we started our association with Fondar Renzo Capeletto. And it has been a very long learning journey of how developing countries, what are the challenges in developing countries from going from jolt squeeze to high pressure, why Europe has, in my memory, almost 20-25 years, in Europe I don't see jolt squeeze machine being sold, new molding machines being sold and continuously being replaced by high pressure molding machines. So this question of why, what are the pros and cons, was always a question which I used to ask myself till, and we started producing these machines. Earlier it was more of bringing them same technology or trying to replace. And as the convention was कि we were always looking at fully automatic lines. और उसमें हमने बहुत मतलब 2 times I've seen cycles where we went up, we went down. We have never made jolt squeeze molding machine. So jolt squeeze molding machine I always integrated into a project, but never manufactured a jolt squeeze molding machine. But have replaced a lot of them. So I'll try to share whatever I have gained, and we'll start from some basic fundamentals of understanding uh, the molding technologies in green sand process, which I would divide into three parts. Because during even today, in many of my discussions, when people talk of flaskless, we are not able to differentiate between which flaskless. So we can broadly categorize them into three parts, which I think most of us are aware, but still it gives us a ground from where to start. Jolsky's molding machine and the flask molding machine are in the first category, which is horizontal parting with a box. And then there's a horizontal parting without a box, which is also gained a lot of popularity as on today. And there's a vertical flaskless molding as we are, which also has been there for several years, but has been used for very specific purposes, high productivity purposes, and it has got its own place. So each technology has its own place, but we are today focusing more on the horizontal parted flask molding, where both these technologies lie, Jolsky's and the high pressure molding. And there's another in horizontal parting, as we have seen before. High pressure molding, there's an overlapping where flask molding is an high pressure molding machine. So high pressure can be flaskless or with flask, whereas Jolsky's machine is not into the high pressure molding category. Now there's a lot of debate कि actually high pressure molding है क्या? What exactly is high pressure molding? और ये प्रश्न बहुत बार because particularly when I'm discussing with SME foundries who are sometimes in hand molding, in jolt and squeeze machine, simultaneous jolt squeeze. So high pressure molding machine एक aura है, मतलब एक इतना बड़ा भूत जैसा लगता है कि ये बहुत बड़ा complicated चीज है, तो उसको पहले समझना है कि what is high pressure molding. So somewhere in a couple of years back, 2 or 3 years back, I started looking for data, and it was in DFG that I got this reference. Somebody shared the ESM handbook, and there I could find one mention. So there's no very clear definition कि उसको हम classify कैसे करते हैं. But दो key point है. One, anything which is more than 700 kilopascal, that is 7 kg per centimeter square approximately, specific squeeze pressure, is what they were terming as high pressure molding. And they also mentioned that if it is too high, then there could be problems. So there is a balance. So anywhere between if you see today high pressure molding works between 7 to 14. And if you look at green sand molding, it is Jolsky's molding machine. Jolsky's molding machine normally, depending on how we load the machine, it varies from 1.5 kg per centimeter square to 3 to 4 kg per centimeter square. If you take a smaller size on a larger machine, then the force will be divided onto a smaller area, and that is why it would go into a little bit more than the lower pressure, but into a medium pressure. But I don't think that it would cross 7 kg in any case, because that requires a much larger force. So this is where we like to understand कि high pressure molding को हम इस तरह से designate कर रहे हैं based on this definition. And the Jolsky's comes into medium density units, including automatic, semi-automatic units with rigid flasks that combine jolting action and hydraulic pressure. So I have seen there are a lot of combinations which came up later on. And Jolsky's machine जो है वो compressed air पे चलती है. Compressed air का एक limitation है that normally more than 6 to 7 kg per centimeter square line pressure पे काम नहीं कर सकते. So your bore diameter becomes a limitation. और उसी से force limitation है. So there have been machines where I've seen where the jolting is done pneumatically, squeezing is done hydraulically. Lot of different combinations are there, but all we have to see is the quality of mold क्या है. and whether we are achieving that required outcome or not. So these are some definitions and the presentation. I think Sandeep ji, you can share with everybody after we are completed. There is no problem. And when Sandeep ji ने मुझे ये कहा कि you want to have a presentation of this, so I went back to 2012 is when I made the first presentation, which is exactly of a similar subject. हावड़ा में मैंने ये presentation दिया था, तो मैंने वही presentation लिया है कि where we are talking of how to bring high pressure molding for ring sand process within the reach of the small and medium foundries. Larger foundries could afford because of the quantity, because of the volume, these automatic machines could do, but largely the George's machine जिन foundry में थी, we were all looking at anywhere from 50 tons per month to 500 tons or 1000 tons per month. These foundries formed a very large segment. I think it's almost 50 to 60% of the segment of foundries in India, where there were a lot of challenges. And this is so let me open this presentation. So that time I had identified this key area, because when you are talking of high pressure molding, what is it that you are looking for? हमको क्या चाहिए as a foundry person? I'm looking for consistent quality in terms of dimension, surface finish, casting defect, weight variation. These are the 4 areas which I would look at as a foundry person. And second is to lower my production cost. So whenever we are talking of high pressure molding versus Joltke's molding machine, the first thing, because Joltke's तो हमको मालूम है, हम इतने साल 30-40 साल से चला रहे, so we have all the ideas. But in high pressure, can I achieve all these parameters? A lower capital investment, consumption of energy, manpower, maintenance, operational cost, space, machining allowance, fettling requirement, all the different rejection criteria could be another area where a foundry user will be looking at. And this forms the basis of why, and there is another factor which is on the skill of the people. So these were the factors which I think were very relevant even in 2012 and even relevant today after 9 years when I gave the presentation. And first, we are aware of these processes, so I'll not take much time on each process. So these are the present molding processes which are available with us. Hand molding, because when I was presenting in Howrah that time, and even today, there's still a lot of hand molding going on. It's very well established. There's a lot of skill was available, but ultimately it requires skill. And there were challenges of consistency, limitations on how much weight, what quantity you can produce. Joltke's machines were a step ahead, but then they also had these limitations which were spelled out during all the discussions which I had. And this is why we looked at the option of high pressure molding machine. And the question was always the advantage तो हमको सब पता है, but is it viable? जो संदीप जी ने शुरू में कहा कि when should you decide and how, on what basis will you decide whether we switch from a Joltke's machine to a high pressure molding? Advantages, I think we all are aware, but are we able to take that decision? So these are the questions of why high pressure molding. First is qualitatively rigid and dense mold, lesser mold dilation. So these are the expectations from a high pressure molding machine. Better casting surface finish, dimensional stability, reducing machining costs. You cannot hear the machine, means you cannot hear the sound of the machine as you would in a Joltke's machine. So you are within the control of the noise pollution limits less than 85 decibels. Airless is where our machine is, so I put that. It could be our whatever machine we developed was working without compressed air. It still doesn't need compressed air for molding. And With a high pressure, you can have a much better pattern design. Very much. I remember the one of the advantages with Renzo Capelletto used to explain to me is if you have a high pressure molding and a very good pattern and tooling knowledge, you can reduce 50% of your packing cost by working on the parting line by designing, and this is possible in high pressure, which could not be possible in Jolsky's molding machine because there's a lot of movement of the mold, and to strip the mold, uh, there's a plasticity in the mold which does not allow a very good parting line, and unless you are really working hard on the process, on the tooling in Jolsky's, compared to high pressure, it's much more difficult to achieve this. I don't say it is not possible to achieve in Jolsky's, but it's much more difficult to maintain this. And of course, in high pressure, you can fill sand at one point as one machine makes an alternate top and bottom. You don't need two molding stations, and a single operator can take care of this. So ultimately, we are getting a better tonnage per man uh, uh, employed in that molding line. Is why high pressure molding machine could be considered as an option by many of the people who want to install a foundry. So why the in 2012, and I think the questions are relevant even today. What is the present scenario? If you look at high pressure molding machine, the cost of the plant, the startup time, because we don't have a very long. जैसे अभी Jolsky's machine है तो आप it's like with so much experience available, you can start up the plant very fast. You can have a parallel working, you can get patterns shifted from one foundry to another foundry much more easily. The amount of the manpower available, the human resources available are not enough today in our industry to manage the automation or the new process. And if you are looking at fully automatic lines, the entire process has to be matched. So this was the present scenario. And as an industry, the questions which came up and what I could gather or what the industry needs. And maybe after we do this, we have this initial presentation, whether we'll see whether we are able to cover all those areas or not. A lower capital cost, making the startup easier, lesser dependence on skilled manpower, not disturbing the existing production and still starting the plant, and making it more user friendly and operable. These were some of the criteria which were very relevant for our Indian context, considering that we don't have a very long history of working on high pressure molding. So this is of course how we went about. I would not like to. So we started in 2008, and today we have been able to do a lot of installation across varied sizes. Of course, we are not into very high level of automation as larger foundries would be, but since our focus was on the small and medium foundries, we have kept our focus and looked at medium production, and slowly we are getting into automation. So this is a typical configuration of the machine which we developed in 2008, 2009. Just to give an idea of how a standalone high pressure molding machine which you are proposing and are working on could meet the needs as identified by the foundry. Could it be as simple as a Jolsky's machine? Could it be economical? Could it be easy to manage, easy to maintain? Because ultimately, when you are looking at decision making, you're looking at man-machine and money as three important parts, whether our infrastructure is able to absorb that or not. So, of course, now this is something which we had done at that time for working out the economics, because as I started that the financial implications were important. So we did a little bit of case study of a foundry doing with a small molding machine doing 40 molds per hour, a capacity of 12 tons per day casting. And there are a few plants which we have been implemented after that. And we are able to correlate, yes, what we had assumed is more or less coming near to that, because many foundries have gone from 15 kgs average bunch weight to 20, 25, and their molding rates are lower. Still, they are able to produce around 10 to 12 tons per day. Based on the assumption, we made the payback calculation, comparing with Arpa 300 equivalent machine with a box size of 600 by 500 or similar. And what was the difference in capital investment? This was in 2012. What are the finance costs involved? What is the interest involved? So the economics was one of the factors which we put stress on, and whether it is viable or not. The second part was on the process side. When the investment is more, how am I able to justify that investment? So three areas where we were focusing was reduction in rejection, reduction in weight, reduction in fettling, and reduction in number of people. And we made an estimate that as compared to George-Squeeze, and the third factor was on the energy cost, because this was particularly specific to our molding machine. It may not be applicable for all, so we have to make a calculation when we do for other molding lines. But I can share the data of what we have done, and we took some measurements of the machine working with compressed air, the machine working with are fully hydraulic, and we are able to see there was 30 to 50% lower energy consumption, and that also was contributing, though small, to the saving in energy cost. And then worked out the cost of ownership for a production of 3,600 tons per annum. What would, at the end of 1 year, when I reached the full production, what would be the cost of a George-Squeeze molding line, and what would be the cost of our molding line, and how much we were saving at the end of 1 year of when we have reached the full production. Now these are some figures, which empirical figures, which today can be backed by data. And what I would suggest, मेरा इतना ही सजेशन होगा कि आप जब भी डिसीजन ले कि मुझे George-Squeeze से हाई प्रेशर में जाना है, to look at these different factors: finance cost, process, and energy. Three costs. And there will be a fourth one, which I don't have a data, so I've not calculated, is on the maintenance cost, because there's not enough data available, so I could not put all that information below. So this is just to give you on something which I have been working on for last 7, 8 years, 9 years now. And when this machine was selected for energy efficiency in the UNIO program in 2016, we compressed everything into one slide of the reasons why somebody would shift from a George-Squeeze molding machine to a high pressure molding machine, which was our molding machine. So first two were the process advantages, which would convert into saving. And the third was related to the OSAS factor of any foundry, that am I meeting my noise pollution level standards? Am I using my operational safety? Because if you see on the left in the George-Squeeze machine, the operator is working directly in the space where you are doing the molding. So, and if you look at the safety concern, the vulnerability of, मतलब जो आदमी George-Squeeze मशीन में काम कर रहा है, उसको एक्सीडेंट के लिए ज्यादा वल्नरेबल है. वो अगर गलती करेगा तो उसका एक्सीडेंट हो सकता है. whereas the high pressure molding machine वो molding process operator के पास नहीं है, और नॉर्मल कोर्स में वो मशीन के कोई भी मूविंग पार्ट के एरिया में खड़ा नहीं है, वो सिर्फ बाहर बॉक्स रख रहा है और मोल्डिंग पूरा मशीन के थ्रू है. सो apart from the process advantage, there is also a lot of long-term advantage when we look at high pressure molding from operational safety. So these are the three factors where I would normally suggest to look into whether it is helping or serving. And as our topic, so these are the process related advantages जो मैंने पहले कहा, and there are some more which we have been able to go deeper is the casting mismatch shift, the flexibility of putting pouring sleeves, getting a good vertical hardness, working with low sand metal ratios in high pressure because of the higher strength. And there have been a lot of cases where people have been able to go directly from casting to the CNC machining. The machining cuts have been reduced. So these are the process advantages. At the same time, there are some disadvantages which we have found, and particularly imagine that this is a denser mold, so my release of gas will be more difficult. This I think the foundry process people can explain much better, but I've seen the entire sand cake lifting in the box if the venting or gas escape is not good, and this causes casting shift due to process. Even though mechanically the machine is in very good control, you can still have a casting dimensional variation because of gas release in high pressure, is what I observed over a few customers' feedbacks. Second is because we are not able to change the box of the size of the box so easily, and you cannot have a large variety as Jolsky's machines can have. So sometimes I have to have a higher sand metal ratio, and I cannot adapt the box. So particularly if I look at a manhole frame casting, which is very typical in the eastern part, the sand metal ratio goes to 1:20 sometimes because the casting is very light, ductile. In the conventional hand molding, the center of the box is hollow and they are reducing the sand, which is not possible in high pressure. You cannot have either sand डालेंगे either डालेंगे. It requires a little bit of thinking. So this is one of the disadvantages which comes with the process, and we must understand how to balance it. If you don't have a good process control and the strength of sand is low, then also there are problems in using high pressure. So the management of process is higher, requires higher control in case of high pressure, which could be a disadvantage if you are having a variety of products in the same form. It goes against the flexibility which Jolsky can offer compared to the high pressure. And the last, of course, is we don't have enough work experience in our country today, though it is growing slowly, but there is a very limited work experience of working in high pressure, and there's not much of training available. आज कॉलेज में भी अगर हम education institutions go, I don't think they are teaching high pressure molding or they have any machine on which even we set up a training school. We are setting up a Jolsky's machine in the colleges. So from where will we get technical people to operate the machine? And this is all about hydraulic, pneumatic, electronics, and process. So you need a multitasking experience, and our education system today is not aligned to the demands of high pressure multitasking abilities. So this could be a disadvantage when you are looking at high pressure. On the production and economic side, high pressure, you can go for high level of automation. The configurations which we are doing today, you can go from a very simple standalone to fully automated mode. It can be modular, it can be planned, and the investment can be broken down. But yes, there's an advantage to go to full automation with high pressure. You can get up to 100 moles per hour from high pressure at a consistent rate. But one of the cons of this is the moment you go for full automation, our overall efficiency of the plant may be limited to 60 to 70% is what I've seen across different foundries. It may not be as high as a manual machine because there are no bypass. Everything is in sequence. So that would be on side, a disadvantage side of higher productivity. But if you are maintaining the machines well, you can get consistent production. That's a higher production rate. Lesser people. So, for example, the plant which we have in Belgaum, I remember there are only 5 or 6 people or 7 people in that foundry from molding to casting removal. And they have a 500 kg furnace operating 10 12 hours. So the number of people required are much lesser as compared to George Squeeze, which reduces my cost of manpower. And because the multiplex machine has lower energy, there's a small saving over there, less number of people, so the net cost per mold or per kg is lesser. The life of the boxes is higher, though initially the capital is higher. But because you can use cast boxes, George Squeeze machine, if you see a George Squeeze, you say a Arapa 300 or a Sampa 450, 450 kg is the total weight it can carry. So if I put a box which is 100 kg weight, I'm losing, and my pattern, then I'm losing on the capacity of the machine. I am putting more weight which it has to jolt. Whereas in a hydraulic machine, this where the force is 30 tons, 450 kg is nothing. So we are not able to invest in higher quality, higher strength boxes in Jolt Squeeze machine because of the process limitations. And with cast boxes and good heavy duty cast boxes, I've seen life of maybe 15 years, 20 years. The first high pressure line which we had made in Chakan, Forest, it was in 97 we commissioned, and still they have got 150 boxes working over there with a few repairs and it's still working. So more than 20, 25 years is where the box life can be, but it's a one-time investment. So the life is better, the vibration is less, so the life of the bin and bushes is higher. The other advantage is the match plate is smaller in the high pressure molding because it works with a bolster support principle. So if you are comparing, if I have a greenfield project, you can save, you may invest more in the mold boxes, but can save a good amount, almost 50% in the pattern cost. So these are some advantages. And as I said, there's a disadvantages also where I will not have as much flexibility in production in high pressure as I would have in George Squeeze. Because I can have different box sizes, I will just adjust my squeeze head board. There's not a very big investment or change to change my box size, George Squeeze, as compared to high pressure. Weight is more than the fabricated, so initial investment is more. My cost of manpower goes up, and particularly when we are talking of fully automated lines, this is much more relevant. This is something which we have addressed in the simple standalone machines where we are not requiring very high. It's only a matter of discipline. You maintain your oil and your dimensions. Apart from that, you don't need very high skill manpower. The same technicians who are working few in the foundry can be trained and adapt to this machine very easily. And in fact, I think it's much more simpler than maintaining a George Squeeze machine. From my experience, I find George Squeeze machine maintenance to me is more difficult because I have never done it. But for those who have done it, I have practiced for 10, 15 years, it's very easier. But for somebody coming in new, maintaining a high pressure machine which we have made is much more easier. And capital investment, of course, maybe 30 to 40% more, sometimes it will be 50% more. And it could be a challenge when we are talking about the initial capital investment. Though my cost of ownership, so it will take 2 to 3 years for getting back to break even as compared, because no foundry, in my experience, can go from 0 to 100 in 1 month. There's a process change, there's a remounting of pattern, and if you work better, maybe you can do it in 1 month, 1 year. But on average, 1.5 2 years से कम तो मैंने नहीं देखा है कोई कैपिटल इन्वेस्टमेंट को बैलेंस कर पाता है. There are some calculations again which was done for registering as a company conference they have to have. So this is relevant to our machine. And how the layout is different. So I think this is all repeating what I have discussed earlier in a different format. Most of the things are very similar. And of course, one more thing is we are able to use robots today, integrate with these molding machines in the molding process also, which can give us a different option and flexibility as compared to the conventional very mechanically fixed lines. So I think this is what I wanted to share, or Abhi, I would like to hear about questions and what are the questions other than, or maybe some of the things you may share here. So Sandeep ji, you can take this forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Manish. Thank you very much. It was a nice presentation. As expected, you have been charted out the pros and cons and various factors regarding high pressure line. I have few questions before people start writing their questions in chat box. So I request all the participants to write down their questions or queries or their experiences in chat box. I have a couple of questions. So question number one is regarding shifting. We normally talk when we are going for conventional George squeeze machine and high pressure line. As discussed, we are more focused on the casting shifting and dimension accuracy. So whether a high pressure gives that additional benefit of reducing the shifting, because what I have seen in some of the foundries is because of in Joule squeeze machine we are using long closing pins, the shifting tendency becomes reduced. Whereas in high pressure line, because the pins height is less, or sometimes it is not done manually, it is automated. Sometimes the shifting issue arises in some of the machines or some of the, we can say, some of the patterns. So have you any experience about it, and how you have gone on this particular front in the journey of your machine improvements?
So there are two parts of shifting. One part is from the process capability part, and second is from process management. So I will divide this into two parts. As a process capability, high pressure molding machine. So if I go to the best, from the best to, I think one of the best control of shifting comes in vertical flaskless, because there is no closing pin and it's all depending on the guides. After that is coming on the horizontal flaskless. This is also control on the guides, but where the maintenance controls the shifting. Flask molding has a combination of manual and so it is between the two, George squeeze and these two processes. So the process capability of high pressure is better because you can have closer tolerances on the pins and bushes. There is no jolting movement, and the wear and tear on the pins and bushes is lesser. So when you strip from the pin bush in high pressure, you can have work with closer tolerances. And if I make a calculation, yes, the shift can be controlled within 1 millimeter plus minus 0.5 on the document in high pressure dimensionally. So whether it is a closing pin management in ARPA, the George squeeze, or in the standalone machines, we have seen that shifting comes when the closing machine pin is not maintained even in the high pressure. So closing pin is a process management. It is not a process capability. Maintaining pin and bushes is process management.
Closing pin and design of box is one of the another topic. We can.
Is more frequent. Yeah. So these are the two areas, but I have seen I have come across shifting even in a high pressure molding machine. And in our root cause analysis, when we are going into detail, there were initially some problems related to manufacturing process of the machine, not related to the high pressure itself. So it can be a machine manufacturing tolerance where you are not maintaining the dimensions. So that is a one-time defect. But the second defect comes when one thing which happens, as I mentioned, is even though you are closing accurately, since there's a movement of the sand inside the box, which you cannot see in the high pressure. This comes from the study of the concentration diagram. If you study the concentration diagram, it is possible to identify and eliminate this. But even in high pressure, you can get a shift. It comes from process management more than the process capability.
Okay, well, there is a question from
So Sanjay, I hope I'm.
Yeah, there's a question from Mr. Ashok Shinde. He's asking, we are using the high pressure molding line manufactured by China. We are facing a lot of sand jamming problems.
This question
Sand
is not very clear. Shinde, if you can explain what do you mean by sand jamming?
Where sand jamming is there, I think it is
what
not.
Is the meaning of sand jamming?
I have one question on sand. I have seen few high pressure lines where I can see the sand wastage is little more than or sand requirement is little more than the Joule squeeze machine. Because normally what happens, we normally calculate the box size. So suppose we have a 600 by 700 by 300. So 0.6 into 0.7 into 0.3, what is this volume into 0.75 is the area of cavity. That much sand is required. That kind of calculations we do for that.
Correct.
But in high pressure, I have seen the sand requirement is almost 1.5 times more than with volume from the box. Is it there everywhere, or it is again depending on the machines and your process?
So I don't have experience of other machine, but from our machine, whatever we made, this was something very specific which we are looking into, and so we have a weighment of the sand before it falls into the box. Now, in high pressure, if you are using a plain squeeze head, there is no multi-piston, then your sand quantity, the sand wastage is very, very less in the machines which we make. But there are again it depends on the machine design how you are managing the sand. In Joule squeeze, your extra sand is above the box, right? So though you say that sand is accurate, I think the sand falls down from the sides, and you have wastage over there. The correct. Machine which we have, the extra sand is below the box. It's below the box. So there is no spillage outside the molding area. So whatever I have put into the machine stays in the machine. And because it stays in the machine, the control of the quantity of sand is with the process person. When you have multi-piston squeezing to get your vertical hardness, in automatic machine, you have to cut off the excess sand to have a level sand at the bottom. That is the extent of sand wastage you can have in a high pressure. Otherwise, it is not that you'll have 30 to 40% higher sand quantity.
So you can adjust that
level. High pressure is much better than Joule squeeze.
You can adjust that level.
Yes, you can adjust your quantity. So there are So there is two ways of control. One is by volumetric, and second is by the gravimetric. We went for the gravimetric process by having load cells of measuring the weight, which gives us better control. Volumetric may not give us as good as control as gravimetric.
Mr. Shinde, I have make you co-host. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, sir. Hopefully, thank
Hello,
you for
hello.
joining me.
Welcome.
I have some questions regarding high pressure machine. We are using both machines, squeezing machine as well as high pressure machine. When we are using high pressure machine, we are facing lot of sand jam problem. If one time sand jam is there, then we have to spend 30 minutes to clean it, that area, sand hopper. Then,
You're talking about the
pardon, sir?
sand jamming in the box after pouring, isn't it?
Yeah, when air is shooting, sand doesn't come in the box. So like choke, sand chokes inside.
So
Maniji.
this is probably a problem of the sand management, not of the machine.
Yeah, sand management. As we know, we maintain compactability, moisture in range. After that also we are facing. I don't know actually. We tried to call to manufacturing people, but they're not responding very well. So sometimes we are also doing something. We are reducing moisture and we are reducing some additives. Yet we are facing a lot of problem in a high pressure machine.
Maybe hopper design can be another part.
Yeah.
The
So I
design
would
of
like to know
hopper
the
or shape of the
pressure,
hopper.
how much pressure, and if I get any technical details that we can set in our machine.
Shape of the hopper or size of the hopper can be
This
shape
is
of the
actually
hopper means
horizontal molding machine.
because
So
it is coming through the hopper, it may get stuck in the hopper and it doesn't flow smoothly from the hopper. So maybe you have to change your you can say shape of the hopper, or maybe it is getting stuck in the hopper because of you may line the hopper from inside. That will help you a little bit, I hope. If
okay.
your sand properties are accurate, or you are saying that the moisture is
So we
less
are
and your
maintaining
sand
right now.
properties are good.
We are maintaining 34, 36 in between. But if we are keeping less than this, then sand mold problem will be there. If we are going above, then sand mold jam will be problem.
Breakage. Yeah.
So I think he had to work on the hopper
Right.
and
Most problem we
basically
are
sand
facing in
property.
So
top.
Shindeji, Kulkarni-ji, this is a problem specific to the molding machine, right? Or your design or the process, and I don't think it is possible to give an answer offhand. But first of all, we are not using compressed air, so my experience with shooting and squeezing is less.
Okay.
Though the first few machines which we made were with air impulse and hydraulic squeeze. The sand jamming issue is something which would come when the compactability is higher, when the
right.
flowability is not good enough. So I can't give you an answer how it can help, but we can connect offline to, if you can share, if you think it is possible, you can share what details you have.
Okay.
And whatever experience I have, I can try and
There is one suggestion from Mr. Harsimrat Singh from Jalandhar. He is asking to go for vibro motor on the hopper so that it will give you better flowability of sand when it is coming down. I think this is another good
Top hopper.
suggestion to use the vibro motor on the hopper so that sand flow can be managed. Many people are using it in Kolhapur as well.
Yeah.
So you can try out that.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Mr. Harshvardhan.
Anybody have any questions? I have one more question on this. Is regarding to maintenance, because Jolski's conventional line is basically we can say semi-atomic or manual, whereas we are going for the high pressure line. It is have more lot of electrical parts, lot of electronics involved, lot of mechanical things are there, lot of mechanical stations are there. So how we can able to get the maintenance work, the preventive maintenance work, and all this. How is your experience? How it helps in organization to reduce the downtime? Because productivity is one of the important area where we are talking about automation or high pressure. The productivity is important. So higher downtime will reduce that productivity. So how is your experience? How people cope up with that maintenance part of it?
So it's a very good question, and I'll give you a very honest answer. So we are using CNC machines, correct?
Yeah.
And I have seen foundries having CNC machine and a molding machine. But what is the difference between the two machines? There is no difference. How is it that you're able to manage a CNC machine and not a high pressure molding machine? It's just because foundry has never been considered as a priority area for discipline and management, in my experience. In hydraulic molding machine, the simplest thing which you have to do is manage the oil. And this is the last thing which people do in the foundry. You take any make of machine. जब तक मशीन बंद नहीं होता है तब तक ऑयल को हाथ नहीं लगाते. So preventive, it says that a stitching time stays 9. वो इस टेक्नोलॉजी को बहुत लागू होता है. The preventive maintenance is very simple as long as you do it. The moment you don't do it, then there is a multiple problems which start coming up. So I don't think it is a problem of skill. It's skill तो है, foundry के पास तो CNC machine maintain करने के लिए लोग हैं. So what is difference between a high pressure molding machine and a CNC machine? It is the same. I just have to decide that I have to give the same kind of attention, the same kind of quality preventive maintenance schedules which I would do in a CNC machine. The day we start doing this, I think the problems will come down. It's in my opinion, I don't find any problem in high pressure molding machine from the capacity or skills available in our country. It's more of a management approach which we need to follow.
Yeah, so I think it's a part of a discipline. You rightly say we are doing a lot of preventive maintenance and scheduled maintenance in CNC, VMC. The area around this VMC, CNC is quite well maintained, but in case of molding line, it is not been followed so rigorously. We are more often neglecting that as a last priority. So I think this is one of the reasons you are rightly saying. I have one more last question. I hope there are no more questions in chat box. You're talking initial slide regarding high pressure. There are three major high pressure lines. One is horizontal flashless, second is horizontal flashless, and third is vertical flashless. Which is the best one? And according to you, if somebody can choose how he should choose among these three, and which is the best according to you? Advantage and disadvantage in this.
So the first thing is I would not say the best is something which is relative. So there is, I don't call anything which is best. As a process capability, I would from the casting shifting. So I'll put it as a capability index. From a casting shift, vertical flashless has the best results, then the horizontal flashless, and then the flash mold. When you're looking at process capability in terms of shifting, when you're talking of best weight sand metal ratio, then flash molding is better than other two. So it will all depend on what is your product mix which you're looking at. And when somebody comes to me and says that I want to make grinding media, for example, my first question is, why do you want to make in my machine? Because vertical flashless is the best machine for that. But if you're looking to produce a brake drum in a vertical flashless, then it is complicated. So it's a combination of because vertical flaskless, you need metal to enter from the bottom. So there are process limitations which you need to understand. There are yield limitations which you need to understand. Venting limitations which you need to understand. Core limitations which you need to understand. So there are 10, 15 parameters, and without understanding the product mix, if you are selecting a line, then probably it is luck by chance. Means we are talking of uncertainty. We are not talking of anything. Saying behavioral terminology, it's the difference between uncertainty and risk. So we are entering into an area where we don't know where we are getting. So it's not a risk, it's just an uncertainty. Tomorrow, I don't know if my component, what market I am looking at, then if you're not very sure of the market, if you're not very sure of which market you would like to enter in, then I would suggest to stay with a flask horizontal pattern. But after having established the market, and you are looking at okay, this so if you're looking at, because horizontal pattern is more flexible, you can adapt and change. And once you have said, okay, now I've got my product proven, this component I can shift to vertical flaskless, I've got a volume, then shift it to vertical flaskless.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is what we want to understand when we should move to the high pressure line on this. I think you are given a right answer that you have to understand customer specific requirement, your product mix and your requirement with considering the product mix and the we can say the business you have in hand. So based on that, you have to decide which line you have to go.
Yes.
And once you establish, we can
just
one step.
So just because my neighbor put a high pressure, I should not put a high pressure.
Yeah.
It should be related to my demand. It should be related to my market and my customer.
One last question, sir. Actually, I want not to ask this question again, but I'm still insisting myself that I should ask this question. What is the we can say return of investment ratio in high pressure line, and when we should go for high pressure line, up what level we have a business in hand? Say 50%, 70%, 80%, 100%. And one more question is normally we talk on the we can say efficiency. Efficiency with respect to machine capability. How much people are using the machines? 90%, 100%, 80%, 75%. What is your experience?
So the first question, what is the percentage when I should go for high pressure? According to me, if you are in a greenfield project, Jolski should not be an option. It's no more an option to go in Jolski for a greenfield. And we have installed high pressure molding in foundries producing 10 tons per month. 10 tons per month.
Okay.
Okay, and it is viable. So viability will depend on the component and how you manage your investment. So piston ring molding, the very small piston rings which are produced. That is also produced at 10 kg per cm square specific pressure in Agra. And they've got 3 machines and producing 15 tons per month of casting. So it can be as low a quantity as that. So I think it's you have to collect data on the savings which you are able to get, and whether you are able for a greenfield project. I think today Jolski should not be an option. The second question, which you are talking about efficiency. Efficiency can, we have seen people who have gone to 60-70% efficiency of the rated capacity. There are people working at 20-25%. So it will depend on the user and the product mix which you are having.
Why I asked this question,
in
because in market I have been listening many times that so and so foundry has put up high pressure line and they are running with just 20%, 30%, and now they are in trouble. They are in commercial aspect. They are going to be bankrupt because they are not able to get even their fixed costs, and all these things are happening. So that is why I'm asking this question: at what level people can thought that I should go for the high pressure line? What should be the business in hand should be there? Again, as rightly you say that it is depend
so
on the which type
I
of
would like
component
to
you are making, the criticality, the price, why you are getting from the customer. All these factors are there. But as a thumb rule, what should be your experience says that what should be your
no, Sandeep ji, there
what
is one more.
stage we can decide? Yes, I'm.
So Sandeep ji, here I will just give one difference which we need to put in our mind. Again, break this into two parts.
Yeah.
We consider automation as an integral part of high pressure,
Yeah.
and automation is expensive, and it is like maintaining a white elephant. So if you are not having assurance of order and you get into full automation, then yes, it can be a burden. So when you are comparing high pressure investment and people not being able to afford it, please go back and look into what was that they have invested in. Have they invested only in process, or they invested in process is only 25% and 75% is automation? What is that breakup? Why we came up with this machine was to eliminate this perception that high pressure does not mean huge investment. The difference between a jolt squeeze and difference between a high pressure is not very high today. When you're talking of standalone machine, if you're looking at fully automatic line, yes, there's a very big difference. So for a fully automatic line, you need to have a good quantity of order, assured order. But if you're looking at only investing in the process today, the standalone machine, and I can actually say that apart from Rhino machines, Sarvamangla has started making this machine. Saveli has entered India into the machine, and there are options available. It's not that only Rhino machine is good. Yes, we are there early. We are there for 10 years. We understand the pros and cons very well. But there are other people also making, and jolt squeeze machines need to be phased out. And there's an option available.
Yeah, true. Very true. Okay, so thank you very much. I just want to understand your experience and what you have been observing
Okay.
during your communication with the business partners and foundry managers. So thank you very much for your time and nice presentation. I think people also commented that they have understand the presentation
Thank
and
you.
they have found it very informative and very interactive as well. So thank you all the participants for joining. Thank you Manish ji for such a nice presentation. We'll be having one more
Thank
presentation
you.
next month. So we're looking
Thank
forward
you,
to
everybody.
that as well. So thank you for giving your time and supporting Dynamic Foundry Group and whole Foundry fraternity for that noble cause. And thank you very much. So with this, we conclude this session. Thank you all the participants and thank you Maniji once again.
Thank you.
And good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.